was a phone sex operator when I was around 21 or 22 years old. It wasn't as sexy as I thought it was going to be. I used to be an adult foreign actress, which is the fancy term for phone sex operator, when I was in my early 20s. How I ended up with that job was because I saw some special enthy about these girls making money while working from home, talking all sexy on the phone while they painted their toenails and stuff. And my young and naive head, I thought that it looked so glamorous. I thought work from home and all I have to do is talk sexy to guys while I paint my toenails and lounge about and eat grapes and shit. I can't really do that. I thought it was perfect because at the time commuting was out of the picture because my car had shit the bed and it costed more to repair it than what the car was actually worth. So I went online and looked for phone sex operator jobs and found one pretty quickly. Just had to use a landline and headset and I got to set my own hours. When my shift began, I called this toll-free number, signed in with my numeric code, and then just waited until someone came into my line. Mind you, I lived in a small town surrounded by dairy farms and cornfields with a population of about 4,000 people, and a few businesses we had were mom and pop places. The nearest Cube or Miston was a 30-minute drive. Our town didn't even have a stoplight, but it had 15 bars, 10 of which were all within crawling distance from each other. Once my friends found out, holy shit, did word get out about my job, all of a sudden I was the most interesting girl in town amongst my network of friends and peers. I'd go to the bar and random people would approach me and want to know all about it, and were completely fascinated. This sounds completely stupid, but I became somewhat of a local celebrity to almost all the people in my town that were in my age group, and being a dumb 22-year-old who loved to party on the weekends, I thought it was pretty awesome. I was invited to tons of parties, and at said parties, the entire room would go silent and intently listen when I started talking about my weirdest, most recent phone sex stories. Ex-men wanted to hang out with me, so many people would come over while I was working and would listen and silently giggle in the background because a cruckle of my calls were into some arker wild shit. And not gonna lie, for the first couple months, the calls I was getting, albeit weird and unusual, Washington's pretty fun, that first after a couple months, I realized that the job wasn't as sexy and glamorous as Faye made it look, and it became less and less fun and interesting to me. Only like 15% of my calls were regular talk sexy to me while I jerk off kind of calls. All the rest were contourlés, bizarre, strange fetishes, extremely weird role-playing, and some were downright disgusting. Granted, it made for some very entertaining stories to tell at parties and stuff, but that job started getting really old for me real quick though. I started to hate it. It became mentally exhausting keeping up and acting like I was taught to really turned on talking to these callers about piss and shit Martinus and other really dark and twisted fantasies. Being that my car was broken down and no one was really hiring in my town, I had to stick with it for a while until I figured out how to get a new car. Thankfully, I ended up getting a good deal on a used car with the help of my dad. Once I got hired for a job in sales, I didn't even bother putting in my 2 weeks with the PS job. I just unhooked my phone and no-showed them.